All right. So if you read this question carefully, you should understand what's happening. And just by looking at the equation, if you want to have a sense of what the graph will look like, you know that this is time and this is height. You know that you're not starting on the ground, you're starting higher up on a platform, right? And it should go like this, okay? And we know that if you want to confirm that, you enter it into your calculator. So at the minute you're given an equation, you enter that into Y1, and you also make sure that plot 1 is turned off at this moment because we are not performing a regression, all right? We are not doing that. We're given the equation, so in that case, you don't need to do that. So then I'm going to go ahead and press graph. Turn off the front lights here. Press graph, and I can't see anything, like very little, right? So zoom 6 is my go-to. Most of the time, it will at least help you get started, right? So then I'm going to just expand up and a little bit to the right. I'm going to turn that to 15. I'm going to turn that to 20 perhaps. Still not good enough. So my Y max, I will go 40. And there it is, okay? So now I can see it, now I can work with it. And notice that this is one of those where this is your y-intercept and then you go up and over and then back down. Okay, it's not one of those where you go the buffalo question where this was your vertex and you go straight down from there. So you have to look at it and read the question carefully and enter it, right? Enter it into your calculator so you know what it's supposed to look like. Okay? So how long? Just there is fine. Thank you. Appreciate it. How long will it take for the ball to hit the surface of the moon, right? So, right, this being the height, so it will happen right here at the x-intercept. Okay. Thank you very much. And then, so we're going to go y2 is equal to 0 second trace, and we have a max, right? Sorry, this is not a max. This is the x-intercept. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Second trace 5. I omit the negative. I'm just going to focus on the positive one, and it's 10.12 seconds. Okay, you write down 10.12. 0 here is a coordinate, right? That's the coordinate you're getting, and then you're saying that this number right here is what represents the time for it to hit the ground. Okay, what's the maximum altitude? Second trace max. Second trace 4. We're gonna go find it. So you get 4.23 as your first number and 24.68 as my second, and this is the one that refers to height, so 24.68 meters, okay, is the maximum height, and that's what you do. The initial height of the ball, it's only worth half a mark, right? It's basically the C value of your, or the y-intercept, right? It's the y-intercept, which is 0, 12. So 12 meters, or just 12 m is the initial height. Okay, that's where everything starts. Graph and label the situation. So of course you need to have an appropriate scale. So my x-intercept is 10.12, right? So if I go up to 12 or something like that, that will work. So if I go by 3, so 3, 6, 9, 12, and then 15. This is time and seconds. So make sure you have label and units, okay? And here we need to account for a maximum height of 2468. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. That will work. So I'll go up by 5s. And of course, if you don't have a grid, no problem, right? You just height in meters. You just do it the way I've been showing you. That's why I did it on paper from scratch. So 12 is right about there, 0, 12. The vertex, that's why it's important to write down the coordinates of the vertex so that when you need to graph it, it's easier, right? So this would be 4.23, right in between would be 4.5. So right about there. And we're going to 24.68, which is right about there. And then 10, 12, this would be 11 point, 10.5, sorry, right here. So this is 10.12 would be right about there. And you go up and over. And don't forget your equation. T squared plus 6t plus 12. And there is your graph. Make it nicer. And if these points, goes back to grade 12. If you don't label them, if they are where they're supposed to be, that is good enough too, right? You don't need to necessarily label them, but you need to have your equation. You need to have the axes labels, right? So the label and the unit, and you have to have an appropriate scale. Okay, those are the main things that I'm looking for. So my domain in this case, you go from 0 to the x-intercept. Sorry. And range is from 0, because you do hit the ground, to the highest point, which is 24.68. Okay. If you rather show this with set notation, okay, domain would be 0 and it's the variable t, right? So you got to use the variables that they use. This would be 0 ht 24.68. Okay, so those are your 1024 for the first question. I get 10.12. You mean 1A? And I have it on my original answer key, which I have right here beside me, and when I did it with you. So it's 10.12. Okay. Take off half for rounding. How long will the ball stay? 17.5 meters or above. Okay, so you let y2 equal 17.5. And we go second trace 5, and it happens twice, right? So if you just want the visual, right, this is the 17.5 line, so it happens twice. So we need to find out the like we call this x1, right, or time 1, and this is x2. Sorry, you can't see that, but right, there are two instances where you're hitting that height, so you want these two values, right? So I will say that x1, the first instance is 1.04618, because you want to round to 2 decimals. The second instance, like this one here, the x value is 7.4045. And so delta t, right, delta time, is going to be these two subtracted, right? So it's going to be 7.4045 minus 1.0462 if you want to round that to 4 decimals as well. And that is delta time is 6.36 seconds. And so I would say this gets half, this gets half, and this gets half as well. So half for finding each one of them, and another half for subtracting and coming up with the correct answer. Yeah, I keep on getting 10.12, Jason. I just did it again, 10.12. So I don't know if you typed in a slightly different equation. Okay, so half, half, and half. So F is 1.5. So make a mark out of 1.5 on there. E is the domain and range. So 1 mark for correct domain and 1 mark for correct range. Okay. So Jason, sorry, I'm going to use you. I got 6.35 because I rounded. Okay, so take off half a mark, Sean. That is why I don't round to 2 until the end. Okay. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Pay close attention here, folks. So let's say, Jason, sorry to pick on, I'm not picking on you, but it's a good example. You got 10.24 in A, so that's what you would have in here for your domain. You still get full marks. Don't take off again here, okay? Because I can tell you know how to find the domain. Same with your range. If you got this wrong, whatever you got in B, in question B, if that value appears here again, you get it. If you use whatever you got in A here, you get the mark, okay? So that's what it is. Yeah, then you're fine, Anthony. Essentially, if you get 636, even if you don't show us the 4 decimals or whatever, we will assume that you did. Because if you get 6.36, you did the early rounding did not affect you. Okay? If you get 6.36, even though you didn't write down the 4 decimals, we are assuming you did use them all. So I'm not going to go into too much detail. Okay? So 2 marks for E, 2 marks for sketching. So if you forgot one of these, you take off half, right? If you forgot the height, even if you forgot the meters, you put down height, you forgot the meters, you would lose half. Same with time and seconds. And an appropriate scale that is consistent. Okay. And of course the equation. So any little thing that you missed, you take off half a mark for everything you missed. The initial height is just worth half a mark. Maximum altitude, so B is 1 and A is 1. So the total here is 8. So put a mark out of 8 at the top. I will open up an assignment for you to upload this 2 marks. So I'm just opening the assignment so you can submit it there. So make sure you submit it like now, okay? And that is it for the AC, okay? So I'm gonna do more and more of those. So tomorrow you can pretty much bet on it that I will give you a regression AC, okay? So we need to practice. How do we do right now, right? If I were to throw a question at you, can I do this, right? Is there anything I still need to work on or review, okay? I'm gonna stop this video.